We laugh. We cry. We learn. But really, what doesn't kill you makes you better at managing clients and everyone. I'm Morgan Friedman, and this is Client Horror Stories.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of Client Horror Stories. Very excited to have the long-awaited recording with the one and only Chris Simental. How are you doing, Chris?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on the show.
What are you drinking tonight? Drinks are mandatory in this part of the world.
It's a Belgian wit beer by Radiant Brewing Company. It's called Blank Slate. Yeah.
You know, I think that's a clever name for a beer.
Yeah, or anything, really.
I like it. Like, you get drunk, so drunk on the beer you forget everything.
I see. That's a good angle.
And then
you start over
with a blank slate. Exactly. You're starting over after you drink this beer.
Well, it's not a super strong one. I think it's like 5%, but depending on how many you have, right? Yeah.
Good point. Chris, I'm so excited we're finally having this episode so I can hear about your craziest, most intense client horror story.
Yeah.
I have my drink in hand and all eager to hear it. Tell us your story.
What do you have in your bottle there?
Oh, not nearly as exciting. A lemonade. I'm very boring with some vodka in it.
Oh, that's a very refreshing drink.
It's refreshing, and I recently turned 50, so I'm trying to bring back what was it like when I was 20 and I would go out all night? Oh yeah. These like vodka infused juice drinks.
Yeah.
Or a classic for the unsophisticated 20-year-olds. So I'm trying to recreate that.
Well, it's an easy drinking drink, right?
Easy drinking, and also with a bottle like this, no one knows what you have on the inside.
That's right. It could be water. It could be coffee.
And with my coffees, I usually put in whiskey as well. No one knows what's really in the coffee mug. In fact, one of my other water bottles, so I'm not using that one today, unfortunately. My wife is cleaning it. Says this might be whiskey on this side.
Well, at least you're upfront about it. You're warning people, right?
Yes, and also it's sort of like subtle messaging. Like, now so much is moving to video calls and everything is digital. How do you differentiate yourself? How do you show your personality? So I think like doing a recording with a bottle with a message is a fun way to let interesting information about you leak out. Yeah.
And it's a little bit of a conversation starter as well.
Good point. It's like the adult version of the t-shirts with funny phrases that I wear in high school as conversation starters.
There you go. The first story that came to mind, and we've been in business for over 20 years.
20 years.
So we have a handful of such stories, right? But this one I thought was a good one to share just because it was quite unusual from any of the other stories. And I want to say this was about 20 years ago. And through a mutual acquaintance, we met this guy who ended up being a whole family. It was like a 4-piece family behind this endeavor. And they came to our acquaintance, who was a marketing person at the time, and they wanted to build a e-commerce website that was meant to be a hub for 4 important things, which is visual art, fashion, music, and film. So the idea was to get the world's unknown artists all under one hood. And I think at the time Etsy was a thing, like for a couple of years. Like Etsy had been around for a couple of years. So there kind of was this model of unknown people sharing the things that they make, right? And I think that was kind of what inspired them about this, creating this website. But they wanted to take it many steps further, not just arts and crafts, but fashion designers, up and coming fashion designers, and musicians and filmmakers and give them a place where they can actually new audiences and sell their stuff. But we quickly found out that these people had no idea what they were getting into, right? And so the demands were kind of wild from the beginning. There's there's a lot of like little stories within the story. And I remember.
But by the way, just want to interrupt with a parenthetical as we build up to the excitement.
Oh yeah.
An interesting risk factor for me that I see now, 50 years old, that I didn't see at all when I was in my 20s, let's say, is I'm just a guy with an idea.
Yeah.
And like when I was 27 years old, cool. You have a guy with an idea. There are lots of guys with ideas. Some are money. Maybe you'll be the next Mark Zuckerberg. Who knows?
Right.
But now there are all these subtle risk factors. Just, oh yeah, let's have this like hub for musicians. It's a cool, like it's a cool idea, and it might be useful for our audience to articulate some. The one that stands out for me the most, and I can say this as someone with more than 25 years experience in a comparable industry to yours, is something I look for now that I never looked for 25 years ago, let's say, is seriousness.
Right.
And seriousness of purpose. I'm focused. I'm doing this thing. I'm going to approach it professionally, seriously. That's the kind of person I want to work with. Well, what I didn't appreciate 25 years ago was if they're not serious about it, then even if they have money, if they're not serious about it, they're just going to do like weird, crazy things, make emotional decisions, and so on. And fundamentally, I'm just a guy with an idea. Oh, and you mentioned the family. Oh, and my family's going to help out too. Like fundamentally, it's just it's not a serious approach.
Yeah, right. And I think we were young and just had started the business a few years ago. And so we didn't know how to identify that, right? Like the level of seriousness, the level of professionalism.
Yes.
At the same time, we wanted to take it on because it was technologically of interest to us. Like we knew we were going to learn a lot in terms of how to do video streaming, how to download audio, how to do audio streaming. And so that was like, that kind of experience really was worth the ride in some ways. But in terms of it being like, even since the beginning, like you're saying, looking back on it now, we know that the pieces weren't in place for it to be a success from the beginning. And a big part of that was their approach to it. And
which we'll hear about as you go on and tell us what happened.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so I think from the beginning, it was like they were very demanding. Like they wanted to have this thing, and they saw point A, which was this doesn't exist, and then point B is that we're going to create this amazing thing, but they didn't know anything about all the steps in between.
The middle.
Yeah, and they put I think a decent amount of money in for an MVP, what we would call an MVP, right? But what they wanted was an Etsy type thing experience that had been around already for a few years and that had millions of dollars of investment. You know what I mean? Not a few tens of thousands of dollars.
They spent 10 years and millions of dollars building it. You can do the same in 3 months and $20,000.
Right. Exactly. And we never let on that, it was going to be this amazing thing. Like we were very realistic about it, but they didn't want to hear the realism of it, right? They wanted to hear that we could do it all and that it wasn't going to have any kind of impact on scope. It wasn't going to be any delays whatsoever, right?
It's surprisingly hard to keep clients' expectations realistic. Because during the sales phase, you always have the instinct to like sell the moon to them.
Yeah.
But then when you actually need to build the moon, it's hard to reconcile that. On top of that, I'm a guy with an idea, and entrepreneurs in general tend to be optimists. And people who are optimists tend to have this instinct, oh yeah, of course you can do it.
Right. So that's the thing is that, when we come across people who have entrepreneurial spirit, whether they know all the ins and outs or not, like for me particularly, that resonates with me because I have a similar spirit. So I always take, my partner is a little bit different. Like we're kind of yin and yang in that case, whereas I'm the optimistic one, she's the more skeptical one. And you know, but yeah, so that's part of, like, I think the initial excitement is like, I know that something like what they're asking for can be built, but whether or not they have the patience for it, they have the budget for it.
Yes,
that's a whole different story, right? But what drives me is that I know that this can be done with the technology that we have, and I know that we can design something great. But whether we can do it in the time frame and the budget, you know, is a whole other thing. And that's where we kind of run up against things. And since we were new to building web apps, like we had done web design, we had done for many years online training, you know, multimedia stuff, really, really cool stuff with Flash and even HTML and hardcore JavaScript. But we had not done this sort of e-commerce thing before. But I didn't want to I'm not the kind of person, and we're not really the kind of business that would let that get in the way of trying to do this, because we know that we have a lot of experience and can pull it off, but there's always the unknowns that happen, right? And these are things that we did not know because we had not done this before. So you learn those along the way, right? But
100%. So this family comes in with this idea for this app to bring artists, designers, films, folks together.
So it's a family of four, and the dad was sort of the initiator of the thing. But I think that the ideas came from the kids, like mainly their eldest son, who was kind of a musician in the LA area.
Okay.
Of sorts, a musician of sorts.
I know what that means. Wannabe musician.
Yeah. And one of the other ones, either the mom or the youngest son, had an interest in fine arts and visual arts. So they're like pursuing kind of their passion, which is all to be applauded, right?
Yes.
But the way they approached it, and like it taps into what you were saying about seriousness and you know, and professionalism and just being a decent person in the world. Like,
yes,
those sorts of things we started to discover that were kind of missing along the way, you know. And one of the disconnects for sure was that they were from the UK. They're a UK family, all of them British.
Okay.
I'm not sure when they came to the United States, if they were here temporarily or what. And they were also pretty well off in terms of wealth and such, or at least, you know, that's what they want. Who really knows the story when people come in and they own a mansion and whatever, and a house in the UK and one of them in the States?
You never really know where they got the money from.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know where they've got the money from. You don't know how much of it is even still left, right? Or if they're thinking that this thing they're going to build for $50,000 is going to be the thing that's going to catapult them into the next level of wealth and notoriety, you know.
If only it were that easy.
Yeah. So there was that disconnect. They were coming from different places. You know, they would hanging out in the wealthy circles, and we're more like working class, you know, upper middle class, whatever, you know. So in some ways we weren't even speaking the same language, right? Like, because we're talking about the nuts and bolts, and they're talking about the flashy veneer and how it looks and what the perception is. They don't really care about how it all works.
By the way, this goes right to a pet peeve of mine. People who call themselves visionaries.
Oh,
in my experience, there's so many people, I just need a big picture. I have this vision for the future. I'm such a genius. No, you figure out the little details.
Yeah.
When really the little details is the 99.9999% of everything. Right. And
I remember, I forget who the quote was from, but it was something about how ideas are meaningless and without value. It's the execution that matters, because ideas can come from anywhere. They can come from anyone. But if you don't have the means and the leadership really to execute it, then the idea is nothing, right? So yeah.
100%. One of my favorite definitions of an entrepreneur is, and it's not a famous one, it's just like the crazy things my mind thinks, is someone who does things wildly below them. And what I mean when I say that is like in a bureaucracy, in a normal hierarchy of the universe, no, I'm the big boss. I tell you what to do. I don't need to lift my finger. I give orders. But what happens to the entrepreneurs, because there's no one to get it done other than you, the good entrepreneur, the successful one, is the one says the toilets need to be cleaned. I'm cleaning it.
There you go.
But the powerful thing that happens is when your huge brain and energy goes to do like things far below you, that's when you realize, wait a minute, it could be done more efficiently like this. Oh wait, the best way to do that, like you only have the key insights. You need to unlock the success by doing the things far below you.
Yeah, to understand all the pieces that go into it, that it's more
1,000. You need to understand. You need to understand. If you, no one will care about your company the way you, the founder, does. And if you just outsource it to someone, then no one's gonna be thinking about it in the shower.
Right. That's right. Yeah. So one of the things is, one of the examples of how their kind of disconnection from what it takes to build this was kind of a hindrance is that we were talking in a user experience meeting. We're showing wireframes and explaining how the thing was going to work. And I think that they were a little bit frustrated with that whole process anyway, because they wanted to see it working, right? But this is the way we get from them how they actually want it to work. And you can't really jump from idea to finished product without those conversations and talking through the details.
Totally. It's shockingly hard for so many clients to realize or understand that no matter how good of a professional you are, you're not endowed with the magic power to read their minds.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So we have to have those conversations. So we're in there talking about how people are going to upload their stuff. So, if you're a visual artist, you're going to have to upload photos of your art, set a price, and all of these things. Musicians will have to upload MP3s, or they could upload a WAV file or whatever. We can convert it behind the scenes. Likewise, with up and coming filmmakers, they're going to have to upload video to be able to sell the thing. And so then the dad came in to the conversation and he was like, wait a minute. I don't want people, because he wanted this to be an international success too, not just in the United States, had to be all over the world. So he said, I don't want people in Africa to have a computer in order to put their artwork up for sale. And so then we were like, but
I'm a little bit confused.
And he's like, and I don't want them to have a camera to take pictures of their thing to put. And so we're like, how are they gonna? Are they gonna mail their art to someplace and then you guys are gonna scan it? You know what I mean? Like, it needs to become a digital file at some point. It needs to be uploaded at some point. But he this was like his thinking is that I don't want them to have to do it, but didn't see that they can't sell it without doing that. It's a whole catch-22 thing.
So when you clearly responded to him through like, at some point the analog needs to be digitized.
Right.
Do you have anything in mind? Like, did he realize it? Did he have a plan for that?
Oh, he did not have a plan. No.
Did he at least understand when you explained to him?
I think eventually he did, but he was not happy about it. He just I think he saw it as a limitation of our team to not be able to figure this out.
Okay, there's an important lesson here, which is some people are just stupid. There are a few important lessons. One, some people are just stupid. If you cannot understand that for someone to sell art online in which the image is displayed, then you need to somehow digitize the physical art. Like, that's a severely low level of IQ. And I think I grew up thinking everyone is smart. Everyone's when I grew up in a bit of a bubble of smart people.
Uh,
So because of that, I just go over this and think, oh yeah, no, everyone's smart, but some people just
no,
aren't.
yeah,
Like IQ differences are real. There's a second subtle lesson here, which I think is good for our viewers, which is the following. Most people kind of think that rich people are smarter, and
yeah,
they like, no, dude, this guy has has some huge mansion and
yeah,
like extra money to throw out to invest in this crazy idea. Like, no,
yeah,
he clearly knows what he's doing. But
right,
all the time, really rich people just it's just the same IQ distribution as everyone else. I would say
yeah,
like wealth is effectively distributed randomly. Like the fact that he has a lot of money doesn't mean he's smart. This ties back to a joke I was about to make 5 minutes ago, but now now is an even better opportunity where we're talking about how if someone's rich, you never really know how they got their money, and I think
yeah.
it ties directly to the IQ point, which is an old joke that I like, which is the following: what's the easiest way to make $1 million? Answer: start with $2 million.
Yeah,
and and I think it's a stupid and a classic joke, but what I like about that joke is it actually makes a deep and a subtle point, which is if someone has this luxury lifestyle and luxury mansion, you truly don't know how good of a businessman they are.
right,
Like maybe they inherited 10 times as much,
yeah,
but they
exactly,
lost it all, and
right,
this mansion and this $50,000 is all they're left with.
right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Like we don't know anything about the story, and I think that
Exactly.
thinking through like how people develop when they come from money is that if it's old money, the money's been around for a while, there's a tendency for this idea of people failing upwards in a way, right? It's like they get handed things and they don't have to work as hard. These are
Yes.
we're speculating, right? But we've seen examples of where this is true, like that people get into colleges without having the academic prowess to actually do it, and then we know that a family member went to that college before, and so they get to go to that college because of their relationship to whoever
The,
was there before, or they
the,
donated a building.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. But it's over the top that he couldn't understand that art needs to be digitized to be shown on a
Yeah,
digital property. It's like
yeah.
it's I like that.
Well,
Like
and then
that
I
is
think, yeah, and his tendency to blame us initially was also part of the socioeconomic differences. I think too is that like we were always considered subordinate. Like it wasn't like a true collaboration. We were hired to do this thing, and we were going to do it however he wanted. And if at any point we said, oh, this is going to be more difficult or this particular thing can't be done, then he would take on this mentality that, well, you guys just aren't smart enough. And even went as far to say at some point that he was blaming some of the features that we said couldn't be part of it, couldn't be in scope, or even further down the line in the project when there were delays, he was blaming that on this idea that American workers are lazy compared to workers in other countries. And that he was thinking that, we're just sitting around, killing time 8 hours a day and then working like 1 or 2 hours a day. And that's because we're American, right? And I don't know if we told him this, but at some point we had non-Americans working on the project because we've always been, really keen on finding the right people for the job, the right fit
yes,
for the job, whether they're sitting in the room or they're thousands of miles away. And we're really adept at finding people who can get the work done and not just like take up space or so, we work very efficiently. So that's offensive on several levels, but just his idea of thinking that like, oh, the reason why this can't be done must be because you guys are somehow deficient, right? Or don't have the right attitude or don't have the right work ethic. So there's that too.
so okay. So there's some interesting points worth teasing out from that. which is it's as you know, you're American. I'm American too. Where in the U.S. are you from, by the way?
Los Angeles in California.
LA.
Yeah.
I'm from New York. Americans don't like to talk about class, so Americans kind of pretend it doesn't exist.
Right.
But so Americans don't have the conversation about class. But what happens is class does exist, and class differences are real. So like you get these, and working with people from a different class kind of just it's hard to understand. Right. So there are lots of things people say and people do that in one class or social context messages I'm working hard, but to people from a different class or a different social context messages that they're that you're lazy. So I will share a fun story because it's just an interesting example, and it happened a week ago.
All right.
That I met a famous film director. I'll not name him, and we were introduced through a friend of mine from college, and I went to like a pretentious Ivy League university. No, my parents did not donate a library, and my grandparents did not go there. I was just like a very, very, very nerdy Jewish kid from New York with crazy good grades.
There you go. Yeah.
So I went to Penn. So I said, so I told the famous director, we're talking about the common friend. I said, no, I met her freshman year at college. And he was like, oh, where'd you go to school? And I said, oh, college in West Philadelphia. And then he burst out laughing. And he was like, Morgan, that's the most humble way I've ever heard it described. And because like I went to the University of Pennsylvania, very, very pretentious school. But instead of being, oh no, I went to the famous University of Pennsylvania. I was like, just like a local college in West Philly in the middle of a slum. Yeah. So, and I have to describe it that way. It's my weird sense of humor. But the funny thing is, like, he caught it on because it actually turned out I didn't know he went to the same university, but he did. But a few years old, 10 years older. Right. So he caught on because he went there and he thought it was funny. But I've used that same line to people like don't know the good universities and don't know this sort of subtle humor. And like many times I like left conversations where the other person thinks that I just went to some stupid community college in the middle of a slum in West Philly.
Someplace they've never even heard of, right?
Yeah, exactly. So many people know. I might be aging myself here. Know West Philly from, oh my God, what was that Will Smith show when he was like 20 years old? The Fresh Prince.
Oh yeah.
From the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the opening song and the opening sequence.
There you go.
West Philadelphia, born and bred, like from the slums of West Philly. But like so many people are like, yeah, no. He just went to some stupid school in a slum. And this is a humorous, funny example of a deeper point we're making, that when someone's like, inherited wealth from daddy, but I'm really stupid. And then you're just working with a working class team. There's so many things you can say and do on both sides, in both directions, that just like my West Philly joke get wildly misinterpreted to mean very, very different things.
Yeah.
Of course, my whole story is giving him far too much benefit of the doubt, because just based on the way you describe him and not knowing that you need to digitize analog art to get it onto a screen.
I know.
That it sounds like he's
next
not
level
fully up there. Yeah, next level.
Another I think example of that disconnect. So when we finally got the thing launched, and this was not without a whole lot of trouble in between, but we finally launched it, and he's like, we're going to take you guys out to dinner to celebrate. And so he took the whole team to Spago in Beverly Hills. I don't know if you know about Spago, but it's a Wolfgang Puck restaurant.
Yes, I've heard of Wolfgang Puck.
Yeah. And, real expensive, in the most expensive part of of LA, one of the most expensive parts of LA. And so we're there. It's very awkward. The whole family's there. You know, a few of our top people are there, not the whole team, but a few people. And we're there having dinner. And the owner of the restaurant, Wolfgang Puck, is there, kind of walking around. And then the dad, so Pops, calls over Wolfgang Puck at some point to the table.
I'm so scared.
And he starts to tell him about this website that we just launched. And I don't know if he was trying to get
oh my God,
Wolfgang to be an investor or something. Like, and he didn't have that kind of relationship with them, as far as I know. They weren't like buddies. But I think it was like him trying to show that he's on the same level. You know, here's Wolfgang, who has this, like, you know, multinational culinary empire. And then you got Pops, who just launched a website that's going to change the world, but has zero users so far, no marketing plan, no traction, you know. But that was wild. Just the gall to be able to think that you could call over this, you know, celebrity chef, and that he's going to care about something that you just launched. That, you know, it's wild.
Yeah, you know, that is another subtle clue that they're like next level incompetence. I think we could call that the cheap show off. Like the cheap the cheap show off is no. Like, I got a first class plane ticket. Wow, look at me. Oh no, I'm a customer at the same expensive restaurant and with a famous chef walking right by that I talked to. Like, these sort of show-offs that are cheap, and I use cheap not in the financial sense, in the like really easy. That like stupid and incompetent people tend to think, though, it tends to be like, wow, he has like he can talk to Wolfgang.
Right.
But I kind of feel like almost all humans just like see through it very, very easily.
Well, you know, what's interesting too about that, I was thinking that the person who introduced us to this family, they were a marketing professional. And at that time in our career, we were executors. We didn't do marketing. We were like, give us your spark of an idea. We'll walk you through this process and we'll build this thing out. But what happens after that was off the table for us. It wasn't in our domain. But this other party, who was the marketing person, he was always a huge advocate for the family. And I don't know if it was because they were paying him hourly or whatever, like he was just, whatever he did, they paid for. I know that he was getting paid. I don't know what their arrangement was. But he had the kind of attitude about them that was just really rubbed us the wrong way, which is that anything that the family wants, we're going to do, or we're going to try to do. We're going to break our backs trying to make this happen. And our approach has always been, if it's impossible, not only can we not do it, nobody can do it, right? And like you touched on something about this a little earlier, and it made me remember that what we learned sort of early in our career, and this was one of those stories, is that there are certain people who you cannot help, right? Like, they have a need. You know what I mean? Like, you see the need and you're like, oh my God, if we could just get this and this done, it would be perfect for them. But then either because of their incompetence, like you're saying, or they get in their own way, or their ego becomes a problem, like they become someone that you are unable to help. Like 100%, you can't bridge the gap between what you know they need and what you can do for them, and getting them out of their own way to make it actually happen.
Yes, that is a great point. Two quick thoughts on that. First, it's a very useful skill to identify when you cannot help someone.
Right.
And often that just like comes with time. Now, decades later, you realize, this guy was beyond help, but you probably didn't realize that at the time.
Right.
Another hopefully useful observation for our listeners on that was, yes, on the butt-kissing marketing guy that wanted to do whatever they wanted. First, I just want to point out it's so hard for people to fight against the person paying their salary. That salary, contracting, whatever relationship is the person giving you money, you like there's this human instinct to say, yes, 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 you give me money. So I understand why I was doing it. However, I actually think people like that fail at their professional obligations, because I think as a professional being hired by someone, one of your most important obligations as a professional is to tell the person paying you the bad news.
Right. Yeah. They don't want to hear it, of course, but it's the best thing.
It's the most important thing. Imagine a doctor that just wouldn't want to tell the bad news to the patient. Like, I wouldn't want to go to that doctor.
Right. Let's say you have a terminal illness and you tell them, I want to live for another 10 years. And they're like, okay, you let's make you live for another 10 years. But realistically, they know that you've got another couple of months, right? But they won't tell you that. I mean, come on. What kind of professional is that?
Key part of your professional obligation is to tell bad news.
Yeah.
I just had a realization in real time right now. This is a new thought I've never had before, but it's a slight tangent, but I think you'll find it interesting. Our audience might not, but I think you will at least. at least we're having fun. I've been thinking a lot and playing a lot lately with AI. Ooh, the new buzzy thing.
We do, yeah.
Yeah. And and a lot of people are like, oh my God, everyone's going to be replaced by AI. I actually don't think so at all. Yeah. And I think the formula is professionals working with AI, because no matter how good AI will get, it can't be a mind reader. It can't read between the lines. It can't understand what's really happening. There'll always be endless context, things that can never be written or digitized.
Yeah.
That could never know. And also the experts are the ones that know where to guide it, figure out. So
it's like that old story of having enough rope to hang yourself. Like, if you get into the wrong pathways with it, you could really end up in a real jam,
So this has been my approach since AI started or became big, and I say this as someone that really enjoys playing with it. However, here's the new thing that I just realized in real time. There's an aspect of how AI works that contributes to my argument that I never realized before, that reinforces it, which is AI will never tell you bad news. Like anytime you use any of these chatbots, by definition, he's, I have an idea for this. Or will you help me with a business plan?
That's a great idea.
Yeah, exactly. A great idea. Yeah, I'm writing a book on the subject. Oh my God, this is the most original, newest genius book.
I know. I've seen that too. And then when you get a second opinion or do some other research and come back and say, you know what, actually this solution seems better. And then AI is like, you're right. That's an even better idea.
Exactly. And not just is current AI like this, by its very nature, it always has to be like this, because you're paying money to the big companies that are providing this service. And marketing 101, you want to make your customers happy and optimistic and positive. There's literally, of everyone that pays to use AI now, it's 0.0001% of them would pay for the bad news AI. No one would. Humans aren't wired like that. So I didn't realize until right now, contributing to my skepticism of AI without professional oversight is this this unbounded optimism.
Yeah. So in that example, our marketing liaison is the AI, because he was always saying yes to whatever idea the family had. And at the same time, also didn't know all the ins and outs of what it took to make this thing happen. We were the ones who knew, this is going to be X amount of work. This is going to be X amount of dollars. it's not in scope. I don't think you want to pay. It's not worth it to pay to have this feature in the version 1 of the thing, but the marketing guy would be like, why not? And then the family would be like, we really want this, so, but it's hard to, and I think another lesson is that as a younger company, it's difficult to have that position with confidence to say, this is not right for you. And you will be making a mistake if you pursue all of this in a version 1 rather than having an MVP and then adding these features later. It took some experience to be able to say that with confidence, to be like a consultant that they would respect, whose opinion they would respect. And I know we couldn't do that in those early days because we were just starting out. And also in some ways we didn't want to do that because we wanted to see how far we could take this. And we were willing to have a lesser margin to have more experience under our belt after this thing was done.
Totally.
But and I think that young companies and young professionals kind of have to do that on some level. Like if you start out in your 20s at your first job and you're just like contradictory all over the place, you're not going to get very far. You know what I mean? Like, but once you have years of experience, then you can say from a position of experience to say that, well, here are some examples of how this didn't work in the past, and this is why you shouldn't do this right now, Yeah.
I think confidence only comes from two places. I think deep belief or having other options. And a challenge that small agencies and small companies have is they don't yet have either of those. Like you're a small company, you really need the work, so you kind of have to take it, as opposed to, no, I'm making bazillions of dollars, we're doing great. No, you guys aren't serious. Ciao. But and then it's also similar with deep beliefs on, we've been doing this 25 years. This is the process that works. It starts with a discovery, and we do a wireframe, and at that point we get we get your feedback. Whatever your process is. You've developed your process over decades, and you've realized, no, when you do it like this, it works well. When you do it like that, it does not. It does not. It does not. And having done it for 25 years, you can confidently say, because you deeply believe in your process. But when you're 25 years old, even if you're like handed the process, you get a 25-year-old getting a job at a company, and they say, here's the process. Because you're brand new and you started yesterday and you didn't develop the process, you don't yet have that confidence in the process as well. So you need time to develop the deep belief. Yeah.
Experience. Yeah, that's right.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so this marketing guy was this.
He wasn't super helpful. Yeah. But we got through it. And then so then we went to the dinner at Spago, the celebratory dinner, and
this was for the launch, wasn't?
Yeah, the launch. Yeah, and I think we had been saying leading up to the launch that this is, I don't know if we said the term, but it's a soft launch in a way, right? We're gonna invite some people. Yes. We're gonna test it out. There's gonna be bugs. We're gonna fix things along the way, but if you don't if someone tells you that and you don't want to hear that, then you don't actually hear it, right? And I think that's what happened in their case, because over the next week after the launch dinner, we were getting reports of some things that weren't working. There were a couple of bugs, as we were expecting,
Yes.
But he sent out this email that was like, I don't know if it was in all caps, but it felt like it was all caps, right?
Oh my God, what are those?
He was like, we've completely lost all momentum of the entire project, like in a way saying like it's all for naught because we have these bugs on the launch and that people are struggling. Some people, not even all the people, minority of the people are having these issues. And we're like, wow, man, this is, and I wonder if in some ways, when you have that kind of, I'm the boss, you're my subordinate relationship with everybody, I think in some ways you're expecting it to fail because you want to blame the people that you've hired.
I hadn't thought about it in that way before. That's an interesting.
It's like we know some people who we've gone dining out with some people, and the way they treat the staff at the restaurant is just wildly inappropriate, and it's like they're very demanding, and by the end of the experience there's basically nothing that they enjoyed about it. And I feel like they went into it expecting that, because they have some sort of mentality that, like, when I go to a place and I'm getting service from someone else, there's always a problem. But I think they don't get that in some ways. They're creating the problems. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing.
I hadn't thought about it that way before, but I like that. I like that. If we're being charitable, I would say some people are afraid of success, but actually with these guys, it sounds like I'm not going to be charitable.
Right.
I think like this, I think it's hard to know the real reason why people are doing things.
Yeah.
And like, if they're starting the business, like, are they really starting this because they're betting the farm on this to make lots of money or whatever?
Okay.
Or is there maybe some alternative motive?
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because what we found out later is that it appeared that the dad wanted to start this company so that he could put his eldest son in charge of it as president, CEO, or whatever, and that was somehow going to get him a visa to the United States because he was the owner or leader of this company. So I think there was a rush to create a company that had some revenue. Maybe they needed a certain benchmark of revenue. I don't know. But that seemed to be their ulterior motive versus really wanting to start a business.
So super interesting. So wow, excellent twist in the story.
Yeah.
So a few thoughts on that. First, knowing that is what was happening, that could explain why right after lunch you get the all caps email because of the tiny little bug. Everything is collapsing. It's not working because they weren't serious. They never actually cared about it working, and now they just needed an excuse, a public not a public, but a way to kind of like end it, close it, calm it down, because they got what they needed. There's this company with LLC. Yeah, where the son has a job that justifies it. So now, rather than actually trying to build it, then they need to go into blame mode. So that's one comment I want to make on that.
Gotcha. Yeah, I hadn't considered that. I always thought that maybe they never got to a point where they needed what they needed, or what they needed. But you're right. It could have been that as long as it was up and running, and then they had the LLC formed, then maybe that was.
If you have an LLC, like if you have a company with like at least X dollars in the bank, a company with $1 million, and you get a salary job as a CEO, that's like that company that has $1 million can hire and do the visa application for the son. Like, the government doesn't care where the $1 million came from as long as it's legal. Maybe daddy put $1 million into the company bank account, show it to the government, and then withdraws the money, and then, or whatever is left after the salary, and then closes the company when it's no longer needed.
Wow. And so in that case, they really just needed something up and running.
You need something to show the world that it's like a legitimate, real company, and they weren't actually trying to make money. My bet would be that was the scam they were doing.
Yeah.
What I'll also add is I've seen so many companies that, like, the reason why they exist has nothing to do with what you think it would be and nothing to do with making money. But I had never really thought of what we call the visa farm before, which this was just like a method for a visa. But like, of course, this is like, I've seen so many companies that are like husbands just like supporting the bored housewife to keep the wife distracted. I've seen companies where the CEO really just wants to be famous and publicity, and like everything else in the company is just like the justification
Yeah.
For that. I've seen people having done bad things in the past and they just wanted lots of publicity about what they're doing and lots of SEO things online
Yeah.
to
To
hide
counter. Yeah.
yeah, so like all the bad things would be completely buried and nearly unfindable. I knew
Uh-huh.
one person that was like marketing a book. I want my book to be a top 10 bestseller in the New York Times. Okay, let's mail lots of copies to like the key people. And dude, and he didn't care about the cost. Guess what? Got a top 10 bestseller. And I think a naive person such as me 25 years ago, hopefully less today, but me 25 years ago, like, no, of course a company exists to make a profit. That's the definition of a company. We're going to build this product and sell it to make money.
Why else put all that effort into it, right?
Yeah, exactly. But
now we know.
Another very common reason that I see for companies that's not profit making, it's actually losing money, especially in the restaurant industry, is for money laundering. Like that's and the art. Like it's this like if you think about it this way, restaurants traditionally all cash, and if I get dirty money and I need to somehow get like clean kosher money from it, oh, I could, if I put my money into a cash business and I fund it where I put the money in the bank and then I get random dollars, which are like by definition clean, that I can then like legally deposit into the company bank account. Boom, I've made my money legal. And guess what? If you ask yourself, wow, everyone always says restaurants make no money, except for the famous chains. Restaurants make zero money. Why are there so many restaurants that make no money, that lose 5% a year? Who would pay for restaurants to stay open for decades when it's losing 5% a year? Oh, if you happen to view that as a 5% tax on
your laundry,
on money laundering, dude, like,
it's a fair fee for what you're getting.
Exactly. So it justifies why this. So the naive professional or employee might be working in a restaurant thinking, I want to get the whole city, my whole town talking about the restaurant, and everyone going, or I want to make the boss happy by doing this great thing, by making sure the food is even more delicious. I don't know. When the reality is the boss
doesn't give a shit. Yeah,
truly doesn't, because it exists for these like very unexpected reasons. Something I often advise consultants and agency owners, and is that one of your most important the most important duty you have is to understand reality. Because once you can understand the reality of the situation, what the company exists for, what your boss wants, like what's happening, where it's going, the reality of the people. No, these are the people that are doing good things. These are the people doing bad things. And the way things get done here is like this, even if they say the opposite like that. Once you understand the reality, then you can navigate in it.
Yeah.
And it's freaking hard.
Yeah. And I think like much like you were saying 20 years ago, we never considered any of this would be the case.
Oh yeah,
that they weren't trying to make,
me neither. Like 25 years ago, I'd be like, take everything much more or entirely at face value.
Yeah. But yeah, all the pieces of like what we came to understand about the dynamics of the family and this whole thing about the visa, it just, all of it kind of trickled in over the course of, I don't know, 6 months or so that we were working on this thing. Of course, you're not going to have all that information at the beginning of the project, right?
Of course.
Like they say, like when we set project schedules and the budget is the point in the project where we know the least about any of it, because you learn the most of it when you're actually doing it.
I actually had never heard that phrase before, but I love it. You define the whole project plan when you know the least about it. It makes no sense, but that's how it's done.
That was an argument I heard at a conference in favor of agile development, which, hasn't really panned out the way that anybody had hoped. But if you can get someone to pay for that, to say that, look, let's just settle on a retainer basis. We think it's going to go for X long, but let's figure it, build the plane as we go, right? Instead of trying to pretend that we know everything about it before we even start.
Totally.
Which you can do if it's a cookie cutter boilerplate something you've already done before. You're just putting someone else's logo on it, but nobody wants that, right? Everybody wants their own thing. They want a custom thing.
100%. So tell us about the unraveling and the conclusion. So he sent this, the dad sent this angry, possibly all cap email.
Yeah.
Thing. It's all your fault that we launched yesterday and we don't have 1 million users.
Yeah. So I think with the project went on for a few weeks more after that, because we had built into the project plan that there was going to be some period of bug fixing. Of course, anything that is deficient, that is, you know, that we built that needed to be fixed, we were on the hook for fixing that, and we were happy to do that. So that continued for a few weeks, but there never was like a phase 2, right? There never was like, okay, now we're going to add all these features that they wanted but couldn't afford or weren't in scope. And so I think that plays to your suspicion that they had gotten everything that they needed for whatever they were trying to get out of it, which was not to make a viable money-making business, profitable business, because they never really pursued it beyond that. But that reminds me, speaking of email, so the dad would send us odd emails from time to time, and we came to understand that he had been searching our names online to find out other things that we were involved in. Yeah.
What?
So really creepy kind of stuff. So before starting the company, or a little bit during the beginning of the company, I was a hobbyist home brewer, a beer brewer, right? So
Dude, when you were telling me the beer you're drinking at the start, I had blank slate. I had no idea you were a hobbyist beer specialist.
And I had gotten a second place ribbon at the National Homebrew Competition. That was my highest achievement as a home brewer. And so I was on a bunch of websites about like competition entries, and, you know, I had some comments here and there on other websites.
Wow.
And so when he was talking about in the moments about thinking that he could, you know, continue to think that all of us were lazy Americans, and, you know, if we could only do this, everything would work out. At one point he was like, maybe you're spending too much time on your beer brewing hobby and not enough time on our project. And I was like, goodness. What? Talk about unprofessional and inappropriate. Now he's like snooping on personal that's wild. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Rule number 1 of stalking people is never let on that you stalk them. Just use it to your advantage.
Right. No, like, he came right out with it.
Smarter someone that had an IQ high enough to understand if you want to sell art online and you need some method to digitize it. Someone smarter than that might have realized that that instead of making comments like "I've been stalking you," instead things like for the launch party, you know, like take them. Go to a brewery, or like there's just so many ways to use that sort of information to your advantage.
Yeah. Well, they did a lot of things wrong, as you can hear. And I think part of it is privilege, right? I think when you come from certain circles and you feel like you can get away with anything, and we've met other business owners like this. It's unfortunate where that they feel that even if they pay you even $1, all of a sudden that they own you to some extent, and that you have to go out of your way and jump through hoops, anything that they want, anything they say, anytime they call. I don't know if you ever saw the show Mad Men, but there's a scene. Yeah, there's a story arc with Connie Hilton where he invites Don Draper to the hotel. And he's like, I want a new ad campaign. And so they end up working together. But Connie, as the owner of Hilton, would just call him at all hours of the night and expect him to come talk to him, whether it was 2 a.m. or 4 a.m. or on a weekend or whatever. And I feel like on this particular project, the family was kind of like that. The dad was kind of like that, where it's like, I'm paying you, and therefore you must be available at all times. You must only work on my project. You must give it 125% every day, even on the weekends. And that's just unfair. It's not, especially when you're only paying $50,000 over the course of 6 months. Like, that's not enough to employ a whole team of people to be at your beck and call 24/7,
So interesting. So there's a way in which I view this similarly and a way in which I view this differently. And then this is a good way you can wrap up this super interesting episode. Here's how I view that similarly. Oh my goodness. One of my pet peeves of work, life, agency life, software development, having clients is people pay you $1 and they think they own you. And that is the worst. And so many of my strategies on how to work like a professional is all about counteracting that, to find boundaries early, to find policies that you share proactively beforehand. They're just all it's just so painful, and I can't I can't stand it. So it's not just a problem. This problem you're mentioning, I think, is like the big problem of client services.
Yeah.
And they pay you 10 cents and then they want you to be their slave forevermore. So in that sense, totally aligns with that analysis. Here's where my view is a little bit different. It's unclear to me the connection to of that to privilege, because I've known lots of unprivileged people, but for example, unprivileged people who were diagnosed narcissists, who would then, it's also a very narcissistic characteristic as well. I gave you $1. So to me, what is the commonality? I would say it's not narcissism, and I'm riffing here. It's not narcissism and it's not privilege. It's what I would say, have you ever been humbled in your life? So to me, people like these people grew up with a bazillion dollars, elitist. They've just never been humbled. They've always been better than everyone.
That's a good point.
So because of that, they've never had to work in a restaurant. Working in a restaurant is a fundamentally humbling experience. You just see all the crazy, difficult people. And guess what?
Yeah.
Many working class people have worked in restaurants and low-end service jobs, so they see how humans are, as opposed to these sort of people in a bubble. And while I've also known lots of people who are not rich and don't have resources, but have never been humbled. There's I've just known the hot girl that was always hot, that married the football player in school, all solidly middle class, but just being the hot girl that everyone loved, that never had a problem. Oh, I'm so much better than everyone else. I can't believe they're like that, even though they have no money. But that's the exact same type. That's here's another type that plays into this, the famous stereotype of the Karen. And the Karen also pays you $1 and says, "Oh yeah, you're gonna repair my home," and it's a $500 job. And the Karens don't have any money; they're middle class, but they pay you $500 for the home repair, whatever it is, and then give you 1,000 phone calls and every little thing. And then when there's the tiny issue with it, 6 years later, still call you for those lousy $500. And why are Karens like that? Karens are like that because they never had this deeply humbling experience. That's
a good point, because then they don't have the compassion or the connection to humanity of what it,
Because I think there are a lot of people, too many, who just grow up with an ego, thinking they're better than others. And I think part of the arc of life is the universe gives you experiences to bring you to reality, to humble you, to say, hey, you're just a person like everyone else. And there's just a subset of people, unfortunately a large subset of people who just never had those
Yeah, I
experiences.
suppose if you have safety nets everywhere and people shield you from that experience. Yeah.
And often it's not even intentional. Like
Right.
parents shield their children from bad experiences because they don't want their children to get hurt, and they want to protect them. So often it's coming from a good place, but
Right.
no matter how good the place is, it ends up people living in their own bubble, divorced from reality.
Right. Causes problems down the line. Yeah.
Completely.
Yeah. Living in a bubble in their own reality, I think, is exactly where this family was coming from. And I suspect that they're still out there doing this very same thing somewhere else in the world or here. Maybe they're still in the United States. I have no idea.
Right after this episode, you can go to Google and stalk them.
Oh yeah, I could do that. Send them weird emails about their hobby things.
Yeah, so you're spending too much time on whatever, golf or whatever.
Yeah. Or I see you started another fashion website. How's that going?
Chris, this has been a super interesting episode. Philosophical, interesting, fun. I hope you've enjoyed our time together.
Yeah, this was great. I'm glad we got to do it. I knew from our first meeting that we would have a good conversation, and there's as you heard, there's a lot of layers to this story that tell a lot of tales in various directions about what to look out for. I mean, we learned a lot from this, and I think that others can from hearing these similar stories.
100%. Lots of learning and lots of fun and beer. What more could we ask for?
Right. Beer and vodka lemonade.
Yeah, exactly. This is a good episode, so I think I need to do more alcohol infused episodes. That's a learning for me.
Nice.
So, Chris, thank you for your time, and everyone who's watched this, thank you for watching it until the very end to see this point.
Thanks for having me.
And until next time, everyone.